Argentina booked a place in the knockout stages of the World Cup. No problem, nothing to see here. Marcos Rojo, would you believe, the unlikeliest of heroes, giving Argentina the winning goal against Nigeria. And it's strange, Craig, say you compare it to the Germany game, where Toni Kroos scored that late winner. You kind of thought there was almost inevitability about that. This, however, you didn't really feel Argentina were going to score.
No, they lost their way in the second half, and Rojo showing Higuain really the way how to keep a ball down. I mean, it was great technique, a fabulous goal. I mean, had it been the wee man Messi scoring it, would have been saying, well, that's just fantastic technique. Depending how far they go in this competition, now they're in the knockout, it's going to be despite of the coach, not because of the coach. Because from the first goal, the first whistle of this competition, his team selection has been shocking. And more importantly, his substitutions have been absolutely bamboozling. That being said, he's got away with it. And Mascherano's got away with it. I mean, Rojo bailed Argentina out, but he bailed Mascherano out big time because from the first whistle, he was charging about like a headless chicken, giving the ball away, arguing with referees, and then he gave the penalty away.
Before we go into some of the intricacies of the game, it didn't look like Argentina were going to do it, did it? No. As Craig said, Higuain put it over the bar. They weren't exactly hammering everything on goal.
Well, when you're sitting from a distance, you can't see what they're trying to do. And so we're able to see it from a distance. Imagine how chaotic it must be on the field.
Sure.
And that's exactly what it appeared. Chaos. Just everybody running around. Can we try and find Messi? If not, what are we going to do? Because they looked absolutely clueless. And pretty much everything they did do, it either broke down, they gave it away, it was a foul. I mean, it was no classic of a game. The tension was fantastic because of what could have happened, but the football was atrocious.
So your point is that there was no real purpose as to what Argentina was trying to do in the second half. I thought the first half of Argentina was excellent. I thought that, wait a minute, where has this team been? They looked like a team with high energy. They looked like a team with ideas. It felt like Messi was getting the ball in more advanced positions. Second half comes around, early goal by Nigeria, and we went straight back quickly enough to the first couple of games by Argentina. And the same sort of plays where players are just kind of getting on each other's way, where everybody's just kind of looking around and saying, what are we supposed to do? And then they look to Sampaoli to make the changes, to Craig's point, and what in the world is going on? If you keep running into the same issues down the middle, well, you would think that logically speaking, you try to go down the flanks. And if you're going to put balls into the box, maybe you need bodies in the box. You have one of the best strikers in the world sitting on the bench, and you decide to bring him in with 9 minutes to go in Sergio Kun Agüero. It just gives you an idea that not only do the players have difficulties understanding what they're supposed to do under Sampaoli, Sampaoli has difficulties understanding what he's supposed to do. And somehow, they're through.
He brought a Mesa ahead of Dybala and Kun Agüero.
Yes, and Mesa, first 3 touches on the ball were straight out of bounds. And I'm not exaggerating when I say straight out of bounds. Yep. He gets the ball, tries to go past somebody, puts it 10 yards in front of him, no chances getting to it, straight out of bounds, turnover after turnover. Look, this whole team, and Stevie just mentioned it, they're just chaotic. And they get on each other's way. And Nigeria, their difficulty was that they fell into the trap of the chaos as well. So they were organized for long periods of time, and then they started chasing around like crazy as well. And in doing so, Marcos Rojo, of all people, not only is it a great finish, and not only is it Marcos Rojo, it's Marcos Rojo with his right foot on a full volley. Come on now.
Meza and Pavon have got 11 caps between them, and I believe no goals. Perez played again for the second game in the spin, and he wasn't in the squad until, I think, Lanzini got injured. It just makes absolutely no sense. And can you imagine Sergio Agüero and Paulo Dybala on the bench? Every time he goes to make another substitution, they must be like, he's putting him on. He's putting him on. I mean, honest to God, they're through.
They're through. No, they're exactly.
Through. But I tell you what, they're going to meet the French, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
If Didier Deschamps' French team don't beat this lot,
then
he's in as much trouble as Sampaoli.
Sure. We'll talk about the game a little bit later on. Expected goals had Nigeria winning this, Stevie. I know expected goals isn't something we focus on very much. However, were they hard done by overall?
I think they deserve something out of the game, yeah. You know, if you'd said to me before the tournament that Nigeria and Argentina, the one who was going through, I would have stick out Argentina through. But the truth is, they're so unlucky, Nigeria. You know, they've given it everything. They've made chances. They've scored some goals. But as always happens in football, when it comes to it, usually somebody rises to the occasion.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Nigeria, it wasn't one of their
No,
players.
it was Marcus Rojo.
It was Marcus Rojo.
Obviously, before that, we saw Lionel Messi with the goal. How good was that goal? Yeah.
Magic. And
Yeah.
his movement, it was. I mean, the ball from Banega was great. I thought Banega was a very good addition to them. I mean, clearly, he's another one that must have been scratching his head early in the competition. Saw him play for Sevilla this season, played really well. Great little clip, but Messi came in field a little bit, then he darted in behind, and the defender got drawn in. Bang! The ball was on the sixpence, right on, and it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. But boy, do you know what said? Is Messi going to be able to carry this team? I thought, well, before the competition, well, they still got up, but no, he is. He is going to have to carry this team.
Right.
That's how disjointed it is. And as for that clown, Maradona sat upstairs. Why TV directors keep cutting to this buffoon, I don't know, because his behaviour is not befitting of somebody of his stature. It really is not.
Where do you stand on the Mascherano penalty?
I think in the world that we live in now with VAR and the super slow motion, it looks worse than what it really was. But nowadays you put two arms around somebody and you see it slow motion. Once he called it, there was no chance that he was going to go back, because you look at the replay and everybody sitting in this room would be like, well, yeah, that's a penalty. Had he not called it initially, I don't think we would be saying it's a penalty. But you can't go back because it's not clear, an obvious mistake. I wouldn't have called it a penalty, but in the end...
It's a penalty all day. It's a penalty all day. Listen, the one good thing, right, that will come out of this is it might stop defenders doing stupid things like that. You know, I'm assuming he was taught at some stage, Mascherano, how to defend properly. And at no stage, I'm going to guess, did any coach ever tell him that you put two hands round your opponent and you hold on to him
Stephen,
for 30 seconds.
There's a theory from some that this has always been the case, that people have always been holding in the box.
Not at all. That's nonsense. This is something that started probably 15, 20 years ago. Listen, if you were getting held in the box when him and I were playing, it was a penalty kick. All of a sudden, they stopped giving penalty kicks for it.
Right.
And with the introduction of VAR, I'm glad to say that now it might make defenders have to defend properly and not cheat and basically get away with not being good at your craft.
My only point, Stevie, is that we saw Mitrovic the other day for Serbia, where he was manhandled, not by one guy, but by two guys. And that play was not even looked upon by VAR. So I'm just looking for consistency. That's all.
Well, that's what people are screaming as well after we saw the penalty that was awarded for the handball in yesterday's Portugal game. People were saying, well, why wasn't there a handball against Rojo later on?
Well, I didn't think the one yesterday was a penalty, but it was headed by the opponent onto his arm. The difference here is, and people seem to have lost track with this, is that Marcus Rojo inadvertently headed it onto his arm.
Sure.
It's a bit like coming out to block a shot if you're a defender, and you go to ground and the ball strikes you on the thigh and goes up and hits you on the arm. That's not a penalty either. And I think you saw with the referee, he's a very experienced referee. As soon as he went to the VAR, as soon as he saw it come off Marcus Rojo's head, one replay, and then he went back for another check, and he saw the clip, and he went, no penalty. Yet there's still people arguing about it.
I would have actually thought that there was one earlier that was more of a penalty when Ian Atchell got kicked in the head.
Right.
And nobody did anything. They didn't look at it again.
I suppose the argument was that didn't he get the ball first and then caught his head on the way down? Is that?
Well, it's reckless.
Right.
It's called being reckless now. So if I was Nigeria, I'd be more angry that one wasn't given rather than the handball.
Again, I didn't think that was a penalty, but it's where this is subjective. Even with a system in place that allows you to look at this replays, it still comes down to the decision of the referee. And even in the sequence that you're talking about, the fact that they don't even take another look at it, it just gives you an idea that there is inconsistency in the implementation of the system. And overall, I think the system has worked. And I think no better example than the game yesterday with Spain.
Yeah.
If the system is not in place, Spain is not going through. Sure. And so it just gives you a sense that the system is working, but boy, there are a lot of things that they sort of need to be ironed out in terms of the details.
So let's just remind you how Group D finished up and how close Argentina were to going out. Remember, they were bottom for a long time during those matches. But it's Croatia and Argentina who advanced, Nigeria and Iceland going home. So France finished top of Group C after the first goalless draw of the tournament. That was against Denmark. Meanwhile, Peru registering their first win 2-0 over Australia. This was not a good game between France and Denmark. So Antoine Griezmann said this afterwards, which I thought was a bit strange. I'm used to playing this way in my club. It is true that it's not very nice to watch. I'm sorry for people.
He's having to go to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, take that.
Didn't he just resign?
Didn't they just give him a lot of money to stay there?
Oh, I've signed for Atletico. I've signed a big money contract, but we're absolutely rubbish to watch. I mean, I don't know why.
Do players, are you bothered at all with this? About a goalless draw? If you're in that France team, does it matter?
The only thing I'm worried about if I'm a player, and I know I'm going to play, is one, get through in the manner at the top of the group if you can, and two, stay fit for the knockout stages. Only thing I'm interested in.
Right.
Job done. Fit. If I'm fit and available to play, and we're through, I don't care about anything else.
This is the third game in this World Cup from France, and they've yet to really show up properly. They are through, I know, and obviously unbeaten, but did Deschamps miss a trick in making 6 changes? Should he have kept a stronger starting 11 to try and get them gelling?
No, I don't think so. I think the changes he made were smart ones. And, you know, it's amazing how sometimes by not playing, you actually do... You're actually better off. Listen, Pogba, for example, right, not playing today, there's no question he starts in this big game coming up because in Zonzi did absolutely nothing. You could say the same about Lamar.
Okay.
I mean, basically all the changes he made, not one of them did themselves any favour, and all they did was make the guy who was sitting on the bench, as average as have been, look better.
Well, that's not great. That's not great, because if you're the other champs, you're putting those guys out there hoping that they show you something, because the other guys haven't shown you much, and you're saying, okay, well, this is sort of what I think my starting 11 is going to be, but if one of these guys shows up and does something spectacular, maybe that's something that we can add value to this starting 11. Maybe that's a piece that's important to us. If he went searching for that in this game, he didn't find anything. And so, while it is good to go through first, while it is good to get results, and while it is good to be healthy and fit, I don't know that this does much for the confidence of France. And yes, they're playing against a team in Argentina that has all sorts of flaws themselves. But if I'm in that French locker room, I'm thinking, I don't know, we haven't been all that great, and now we drew Argentina that has Lionel Messi. I don't know that that's the sort of matchup that they would have liked.
Should we talk about France-Argentina then?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, because Argentina are a shambles, so they're going to be open. They've got arguably the best player in the world who could create anything, something from nothing. And then we're looking at this French team that isn't going to change much from the previous game because his job has been made easier, as Stevie said, by some of the guys coming in. So we're going to see Pogba, and we're going to see Mbappe, and we're going to see all these super talented French players who haven't yet played particularly well, but I think if they do, could tear this Argentina team apart.
Right.
Particularly the defence.
Yeah.
Yes, this front line of France with the wide players and Griezmann in there floating about, they could, I mean, I don't see how they're going to cope with the movement. I really don't.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yes, we're saying that they've been okay and they've won the group and they've got through, but I don't see them giving anything away. You know, we've been holding this team for a long time to a different standard than most teams, and they haven't yet proven to us what we think that they can do. But you know what? They're still getting it done. They're still there. They still won the group, and they're going to win this game because Argentina. I'm sorry. I mean, you talk about lucky. It's not happening.
I don't mean to bring up Real Madrid, but I'm going to. Because you take a look at the start of their season, they were awful. There were calls for Zidane to go. They had a terrible run in the league, yet they got it together when they needed to.
Right.
This Argentina side is full of experience, a team, let's not forget, who went to the World Cup final 4 years ago. Is there not a sense that maybe, just maybe, they could try and get things going?
it's hard to make a case. It really is. And nobody would love more than me to have Argentina continue to advance in this tournament. But it is really difficult to make a case simply because you can sense and you can see it in the performance. You don't even have to have access to the information behind closed doors. You can just see it in the performances that this team looks at Sampaoli and thinks this guy has no clue what we're doing. We have no clue what we're supposed to be doing. And so then it's going to take a change of players in that team coming together and say, you know what, regardless of what he's saying over there, this is what we're going to do on the field.
Will that ever work?
Well, that's never a healthy situation. Certainly not in the knockout stage of the World Cup. And I do think that Argentina somehow new life. This is new life. They were done. They were dead. And much like Real Madrid in Champions League, they were done. They were dead. You let teams like this hang around, and maybe on the day, the players that we think to be so talented do show up and play well. So if Messi has his best day, if Agüero has his best day, if Higuaín has his best day, Di Maria has his best day, can they not be competitive? I think so. New life for Argentina means that this team...
Argentina?
Tell you what, you're asking for a lot.
I don't think
they're asking for a little bit.
I don't think they'd be
I'm
competitive.
taking Argentina.
That is the heart. That is the heart.
I don't think they can be competitive at the back. The two full-backs I don't like particularly well. You've got a guy in Perez playing in midfield who wasn't even in the damn 23 squad. Bigley was playing before, wasn't great. Bonega's playing now, but I mean, it's just a shambles.
You're convincing me now.
I mean, you talk about blind faith,
No.
throwing the goalkeeper in as well.
One first cat for the goalkeeper. I mean,
They don't know what they're doing.
Look at France. Dreadful against Australia, who are rubbish. Then they haven't done nothing in this
your
tournament.
Real Madrid analogy
Yes.
is better suited to France
Right,
because they have better players.
right.
But France
Not
have...
obviously Messi, but they have a better 1 to 23.
Okay.
Much better than Argentina. And I really believe this is a chance. This is where France can announce himself by really rolling Argentina over and making a statement.
Sure.
A bit like Croatia did.
Right.
I mean, and I do think France can really make a statement here and get the tournament up and running. That's how good I think they can be. We just haven't seen it yet.
Forget if both teams are at their best, right? When France are not at their best, what they have over Argentina is they're compact, they have shape, they know what they're trying to do. They don't always do it, but they actually know what they're trying to do. Argentina, none of those things.
Hey, I'm not confident. I'm not confident on my pick. I don't need all the reason. Hey, I'm not picking with my mind here. I'm picking with my heart, to be quite honest with you. There's nothing that says Argentina should win, and yet this team has life that they didn't think they were going to have. Maybe that's enough.
Of course, more games tomorrow. Let's take a look at how Group F stands and remind you what's at stake. Mexico, as it stands, are top. Germany second. Mexico taking on Sweden. They're in a strange old scenario where, despite the fact they've won their opening matches, if Sweden beat Mexico and Germany beat South Korea by at least 2 goals, it could be Mexico going out and Sweden and Germany advancing.
Big point.
We've talked about this before, and you think Sweden are going through, Stevie?
I do. This for me is set up for the way Sweden plays. Regardless of the opposition, Sweden sit tight, give nothing away, and try and hit you on the break. And for me, the only way Mexico can play is by going forward, going that way.
Right.
That falls right into the wheelhouse of a team like Sweden.
At some point, though, Sweden's got to come out and attack Mexico. Right? Yes?
Yeah, but we're talking what?
No, because
30 minutes to go if it's a stalemate.
Well,
but the fact is that they're going to have an hour to try and put their plan into action, with Mexico going at them and then try and pick them off. They did it to Germany, and they were unlucky that Cruz comes up with a piece of magic.
Mexico doesn't have to get after Sweden.
I don't think Mexico can play any other way.
Possession game? I think they can do it. All I'm saying is that Mexico's mentality and energy and everything that they've done early on in the tournament would have me believe that this team is good enough to beat Sweden. And the fact is that they don't need to beat Sweden. And that's the part that I would be nervous about, is that if you start playing conservative, if you're Mexico, if you start sort of kind of speculating with the result, that's where you may get in trouble. If Mexico play at the same level that they did in their first couple of games, I think Mexico's too good.
Heart and head. Saying that.
Both, I think, at this point, yes.
I think Mexico...
Not my heart. I have nothing to do with Mexico.
I think it might just be a bridge too far for Sweden. I can see them getting a draw, which wouldn't be enough. However, if there is talk, and there has been talk about the coach Osorio making changes, this would be absolute bonkers. This is a team that have played particularly well.
Yeah, very well.
Very well in the first game and really well in the second. And you might have to win it, or you have to get some. Why the hell would you make changes? But this is a coach leading up to the tournament, made an incredible amount of changes in team selection. So I wouldn't rule it out. I think if he does, then that could be problematic for him.
A word on Germany. Any doubt they're getting through?
No, I think when you go from the depths to the heights so quickly, all that other failure and just poor play just disappears, and it's onwards and upwards for them.
Meanwhile, in Group E, just a reminder how things stand there. Brazil favourites to advance, along with Switzerland, both with 4 points apiece. Serbia, though, remember, are playing Brazil, and a win for them would see them through. And Switzerland, a victory against Costa Rica, would see Brazil out.
Well, I was going to say, I think it typifies the World Cup that we've had so far, which I think has been very exciting.
Yep.
The group stages, there haven't really been any dead rubbers. And Brazil can still go out by having a really bad day at the office. I mean, I think that's intriguing. I don't think it will happen, but at least there's some intrigue there.
Can Brazil go from the heights to the depths, or the depths to the heights?
Yeah, listen, I've picked Brazil to win it, so obviously I think they're going to beat Serbia. Right. But the fact is, in a World Cup with so many shocks, it could be another one. Don't see it, but you never know.
Brazil were better in the second game than they were against Switzerland. They will be better against Serbia than they were against Costa Rica. They'll continue to improve. Brazil, no problem.
Ali, Craig and Stevie, thank you.
Well, it's a wrap on Group C. Janusz Mihalik joining me as we look back on it, specifically the game between France and Denmark. Let's have a look at the standings and how things ended after all of these matches. France only needed a point to top the group, and well, that's exactly what they did, Janusz. They did just enough after that 0-0 draw with Denmark. Janusz, now, again, we expected Deschamps to make a couple of changes. He made 6 changes, but France still not very impressive.
Yeah, the standings look good. That's what you want to do. But yeah, the mystery of France continues. I've talked myself into picking them as the World Cup champions, but I'm not really sure how good they really are. And
do you think they were trying not to go as hard on Denmark, knowing the draw would have just gotten them what they wanted? No, the bigger question is, it doesn't really matter what I think, but I just wonder if Didier Deschamps even knows his best team. I mean, this team likes identity, right? I mean, you look at that midfield and you say to yourself, okay, Kanté is their best player, which probably shouldn't be the case, right? Pogba is going to have to play, and then who's the third? At this stage, he's looked at everybody. Lemar, Fekir, Tolisso, Matuidi, and Nzonzi played today, and it still looks unconvincing. Mbappe, of course, is the one that stands out for me in the front three. Giroud, perhaps for a couple games, maybe Griezmann. I'm not convinced as well, so that is a problem because I'm pretty sure that at this moment, Didier Deschamps does not know his best starting 11. And as for Denmark, thoughts on them? For Denmark, they're funny. They stick around. I have a lot of respect for them. They're stubborn. Every game, this was a difficult group to navigate, to be honest. A lot of teams, but they are stubborn. I mean, when you have the fans olaying Denmark in the second half where they dominate, things are going well, even though at that moment they knew they were through because, of course, Australia didn't get the job done. All right, thanks so much to Janusz Mihalik. So France and Denmark move on to the round of 16. Make sure to catch everything from the World Cup on our show later, ESPN FC on ESPN+. We've got some more World Cup predictor for you as it's crunch time as the group stages are wrapping up. Janusz Mihalik is here with me for this one. Janusz, Mexico against Sweden. I've got everything right so far, so just little genius, yes, I am. This should be the first test for Mexico, but they're through, right? Sweden, all to play for. They've got to win this one. Be interesting to see what happens when Mexico goes behind. I think they will, but they will come back. But I'm leaving this as a draw. Funny to say that this is probably the first test for Mexico, considering they've already faced the world champions and took care of them in quite stunning fashion. In going behind. Yes, indeed, in quite stunning fashion. But that's just a testament to how amazing Mexico has been. And you know what? I'm going to carry on this Mexican bandwagon and say that they might just be a little too much for Sweden right now. South Korea against Germany. Well, Germany has to win this. It's really between Germany and Sweden. Right now, they're dead even, really, on points, on goals scored, and against. Obviously, the head-to-head goes to Germany, but since I gave this a draw, my answer is obvious. It has to be Germany rather easily here. I think order will be restored, especially they will be
very buoyant after that last result. I hope there is a public holiday in the name of Toni Kroos, because he definitely deserves one. And I'm going to go with the Germans on this one. Serbia, Brazil.
Serbia has to win this. That's not possible, is it? I mean, be in a situation in a game to have to win against Brazil. Not that they've been great, but Neymar has scored right now. Yeah. So, you know, this is going to keep going. I don't think there's a chance there for Serbia. I'm going with Brazil. The big boys are starting to show up now.
Agree with you on that one.
Yes.
Definitely. Finally, especially in the last game, we did get to see the big boys, you know, with the pressure on and how they handle it. And they did show up in quite stunning fashion. So I am going with Brazil, especially because I picked them to win the entire thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't go against them. Switzerland, what a result for them last time around as well against Costa Rica, who are already eliminated.
Yes, and you know what? It seems like an easy one, but it is for me because Switzerland have surprised me. How good they are. Not just, I mean, they've been good in European championships, but they're resolute, they're organized. We always talk about that, but they can open up a little bit. I mean, they're trying to play, and yet in all formation, there seems to be a discipline and all that. So I think they will win this one here. And I think Switzerland is one of those teams that I'm going to keep an eye on. So Switzerland it is.
I know we don't like to say things that are easy. I know, especially because we've been seeing some very, very valiant efforts from sides who have already been eliminated or are on the brink of elimination. So I was watching for Costa Rica, but I am going with Switzerland. Loved what I saw from them last time around. And as you said, I think this is a team we should definitely keep our eyes on. All right, so only Mexico's result separating us. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. You sound unsure. You sound unsure.
No, I'm sure of it. I'm sure it's
all
right. About the big boys.
Yanis is sticking with his predictions. I'm sticking with mine. You can see if we're wrong or right. Plus to track everything from the FIFA World Cup here at ESPN FC. Heartbreak for the Socceroos and bittersweet jubilation for Peru as the Peruvians get a win at the World Cup, beating the Aussies by 2-0. If we have a look at how the standings ended in Group C, you will see that unfortunately Peru, despite their amazing endeavors today, they do finish in third. That means they're out of the World Cup. Australia right there at the bottom. Janusz Mihalik here with me. Janusz, we've been talking about Australia for very, very long. And the number one question, we finally saw Tim Cahill come on, but it was just a lot too late. So how much are they going to rue not playing him earlier on?
Yes, they will regret that, because I think that Bert van Marwijk lost this. His in-game management wasn't good. I could understand why he had certain starting 11s, but I think the manager of Australia was afraid of his own shadow. I mean, it really was through the game, because in every game, Australia were in it. They grew into the game. In the second half against France, they looked good. Against Denmark, they looked good. And even in this game, when they were chasing the game as well. In fact, Australia and Peru had the same problem. They couldn't score at the right time. That was the issue, right, for both. And against Peru, in comes Timmy and Daniel Arzani, who for me should have been on earlier. You have to trust your players. You have to let them be. You have to let them play. I mean, Van Marwijk knows he's gone after this one. So I was extremely disappointed in how he managed the game throughout the tournament.
And for Peru, what can they take from this tournament?
Oh, this is a celebration for them. I mean, 1980, well, sort of. Let's face it. I mean, based on play alone, you look at Peru, and they should have been out of this group. They should advance. I mean, they played tremendously against everybody here.
Yes.
Scoring in the first 2 games. Guerrero, with the saga pre-World Cup, finally got himself going. And we felt that he was going to eventually score, because that's what he does extremely well. But, you know, heads held high for sure. I mean, they impressed. They were entertaining. They were happy. Supporters were unbelievable. And I think that's one of those teams that everybody wishes that they stayed in the tournament.
Definitely. I know I do. All right. Well, I'm sure Peru will be welcomed back home with open arms. As for Australia, they definitely have some rebuilding to do. Make sure to continue tracking everything from this FIFA World Cup on ESPN FC.